welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hello, and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda. I am very honored to have Dr. Suhas Kshirsagar here today. Dr. Shuhas is a world-renowned Ayurvedic physician and educator from India, the director of the Ayurvedic Healing and Integrative Wellness Center in Northern California, and the author of The Hot Belly Diet. And Dr. Suhas's latest book, which we're going to talk about today, is Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. He holds a BA in Ayurvedic medicine and completed a 3-year residency as an MD with a gold medal at the prestigious Pune University. He is an advisor and consultant at the Chopra Center and a faculty member at several Ayurvedic institutions and Kerala Ayurveda Academy. So I was very honored to receive many lectures from Dr. Suhas. Dr. Suhas, I'm so honored to have you on the show. I'm very passionate about the subject of your new book, Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Colette. It's my great joy and honor to be with you. And I greatly respect and admire your work and keep up the good work. And most importantly, I really appreciate your passion towards Vedic sciences.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Well, I want to get straight into talking about the book because it's right in line with what I teach my clients as well. And I think this can help so many people. And basically, after decades of your clinical practice and seeing thousands or tens of thousands of patients at this point, you recognized that their problems were due to the fact that they were ignoring the clock genes that rule our physiology. And you started asking the question, is your schedule killing you? Can you tell us about this?
I think that's absolutely right, because what I see in my clinical practice that everybody is super busy. Where the life has gotten so busy that it kind of dictates their personal health and well-being. And you talk about the work busyness and the schedules, internet, emails, text messaging, social media. It has really increased the speed of life tremendously. And that actually increases the pace of vata, as we call it. So when I started writing this book, Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life, that's a perfect template to even understand and synchronize what are the circadian rhythms, how the doshas behave, what are the clocks of the doshas, the organs and the activities that the body tries to carry out. And it all responds and boils down to a very simple principle of light and darkness. And that response of light and darkness at a cellular level, what we like to call it as sun and moon, is our bodies are literally like time machines, and the time is embedded in our genes at a DNA level. So this latest discovery of clock genes not only highlights the importance of biological timing, but it also validates the very ancient Ayurvedic principles of Dinacharya, which is daily routine, Ritucharya, which is seasonal routine, even Ratricharya, which is the nightly routine, and everything that you do during the junction point. So I think the Vedic sages and seers had a very clear and precise understanding that how we are true replica of nature itself, and the best way to remain healthy is to simply abide the laws of nature.
Exactly, and that's it, isn't it? It is very simple. As long as we live in tune with nature and the circadian rhythm, that we can give our body what it needs to remain in balance.
And I think, as I was telling you about the busy schedule, it is the first side effect of that is making us disconnected from our basic bodily rhythms. It could be as simple as thirst or hunger or sleep, elimination, and we may ignore these things, but they all pile up. And I often tell my patient, it's not you, but it's your schedule. And that schedule is literally killing them. And the current epidemic that we see right now with obesity, metabolic syndrome, insomnia, insulin resistance, depression, you name it, it can all be linked to one common cause, which is circadian disruption.
Absolutely. And my audience is very familiar with circadian rhythms because I talk about it all the time. And I've done episodes solely on the circadian rhythm. But I want to ask you to explain a little bit about the clock genes and how does our body tell time?
Well, I think chronobiology, as the new science is, chrono means time, biology means how it responds to time itself, is hardwired, is a fairly inflexible biology that we are talking about, and the way the body tells time, and that was an old school of thought, where when the light hits our eyes, then it sends signal to a little area in our brain which is called as suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, which is almost like a size of a rice grain, and it's deeply embedded in our brain right above the optic nerve. And when it gets the cue that it's daylight, then it sends signals everywhere else in the body, and the cells imagine that it's daylight and it carries out its activity. So that was an old school thought. But recently what we are realizing is even before that the signal reaches there, the body is aware of the cycles of day and night. And one of the challenges that we say that these clock genes that we are trying to find out recently, they are more related with the activities that the body is scheduled to carry out. And those activities could be millions and millions of things that are carried out during the day, carried out during the night itself. And they all respond to these signals. So instead of having just one big clock telling everyone in the body, now it is embedded at a cellular level or a DNA level, where the genes are cycling, and they are cycling as in a timely manner, in a 24-hour cycle, as we call. And they're called as cycling genes. And that cyclical activity that the body is carrying out can be disrupted with the false signals that the body can receive. And those false signals sometimes can come that it's 11 o'clock in the night and you're watching television, that light that hits your retina almost mimics that it's still daytime, and then it holds on, carry on that function that happens in the night itself. So it delays the release of melatonin, and so many other functions are disrupted with this. So I think what we are realizing right now is these activity of the clock genes that the body has learned to effectively carry out is disrupted with what we are doing at times. And there are interesting names that are given to these genes itself: BML1, BML2, PRED genes. And these are all cyclical genes. They are cyclical activities. And we used to think that it's only in humans, but even at a single cellular organism, they respond to the cycles of day and night.
Yes, it's just everything in nature has a rhythm, right? Everything in nature has a cycle.
It does. And that rhythm is very important. Whether we like it or not, I think Ayurveda is the first science to understand that, because the earth is tumbling on its axis, swirling around itself and moving at dizzying speed around sun, and moon is moving around earth itself. So those rhythms, those cycles are already happening. We like to call them as circadian rhythms. We call them as lunar rhythms, tidal rhythms, celestial rhythms of the movement of the planets and the planetary cycle. And I think Ayurveda is the only science, and all the Vedic sciences have identified those genes, those times, and how those times affect us. Whether we like it or not, everyone who is living on planet Earth is going to be affected by those cycles. And these cycles are the rhythms, as we talk about. Means even the ocean goes up and down with the tidal rhythm that we talk about. And Everything that happens within the 24-hour cycle, the plants, the leaves, the flowers, the movement, the seasons coming and going, the physiological functions is constantly affected. And we know from an Ayurvedic perspective that the doshic aggravation, localization, building up, all of those things are happening with the changes in the season itself. So when we are caught a bit off guard, that's when the imbalances set in.
Yes, exactly. And that brings me to the next question is about social jet lag when we're out of tune. Can you explain what social jet lag is, please?
Yes, social jet lag is many times people are behaving themselves from Monday to Friday, where they try to wake up, show up for work, eat the right food at the right time. But when it comes Friday, it is almost licensed to stay up late and eat late. So Friday night people tend to stay up late and eat late, and then Saturday morning everybody wakes up late in the morning and catch up on sleep. So Saturday you wake up at around 9 or 10 in the morning, and then instead of having breakfast you eat your brunch late in the day. Since you ate brunch, then it's Saturday night, so you're eating late and sleeping late. And Sunday you are again catching up on sleep. So you are abusing the bodily clock on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Monday, when you have to show up and prepare for work at 6 o'clock in the morning to get going for the day, then suddenly you feel as if you're waking up in a complete different time zone, which is 2-3 hours earlier than what you're supposed to. Yeah. The body is caught off guard every weekend because of the disruption that happens because of the social norm, that the way we live over the weekend. Their weekend life is very different than their week lives. And I see this, quite a few millennials actually indulge into all of these things every weekend. And we all know the challenges that the jet lag faces. And the jet lag it confuses the microbiome in our gut. It disrupts the circadian rhythms in the body itself, because the bowel movement, sleep, energy, everything is affected with a jet lag because you're in a complete different time zone. Right. And without leaving your home, you're exposing yourselves to this social jet lag every weekend. And I think that's also one of the main causes. So I have proposed in my book that people should more or less maintain the same routine over the weekends than the normal week.
Absolutely. And you said that as well, that setting a daily schedule that reinforces your body's natural rhythm is the most powerful health habit that we can adopt.
I think, and respecting that, it actually allows us to fall into a groove, into a rhythm where everything becomes a little bit more smooth. And when I was researching about the articles that we found about this, is so many articles have come out where eating late, how problematic it can be, sleeping late, how problematic it can be. And earlier it was a norm where you sleep when you have nothing else to do. But now we are realizing painfully how important the quality of the sleep is. It's not when you sleep, how much you sleep you get, but exactly when you go to bed and the quality of the sleep. So going to bed and waking up during those times that are more optimum and ideal is the key. And then the other thing which is very common when I was writing my earlier book, Hot Belly Diet, was eating late. About 70% of the country was sleeping late and eating late at the same time. And that creates a difficulty because when you eat late, and we know that from an Ayurvedic perspective, that your heart rate, pulse rate, respiratory rate, everything slows down and the food just stays there without being digested. And then you wake up feeling dull, heavy, and groggy next day morning because the food is undigested in the system. And then someone told you that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and then you put another truckload of food on top of that. And then you walk around feeling dull, heavy, groggy, tired all day long and needing extra amounts of caffeine, which further disrupts these rhythms itself. So having a light dinner and being done by eating by 7 p.m. in the evening, at least 3.5 hours before you go to sleep, going to sleep by 10:30 and starting your day around 6 or 6:30 in the morning would probably reset everything. And then doing a brisk cardiovascular exercise before breakfast I think will set up your day. So there are very subtle changes that we are making, but that make huge, profound impact. And I have seen that in my clinical practice, that people are able to use this as a reset button where everything else starts suddenly falling in the right place. Another interesting thing, Colette, here is the busyness of our work and how the schedules kind of dictate everything that we are doing. And that's creating a new situation, which I call it as time poverty, where we are becoming rich, but we are becoming very time poor. And the problem is partly of perception and partly of distribution, because everybody is feeling perennial time scarcity. And it all started maybe around 18th century when the clock was kind of used to synchronize labor. You punch in your time card, get in, and this many hours you work, and this many hours you get paid. So now time equates to profits. So it's the timing is financially quantified. How much hours you put in, and then wasting, saving, using time always relates to some profits. So I think that time is becoming scarcer. So when time is money, then you want to be stingy with your personal time and want to maximize doing the work itself. And that's why the boundary has become very invisible, where you are constantly doing something pertaining to work at different times when you should be engaging into some personal health and well-being activities.
You mentioned in your book as well that we're sleeping less now, but still getting up at the same time. There's been studies done that we're getting, the past decade, we're getting less sleep.
And sleep is one of the most potent anti-inflammatory activity that you will ever do. Because I think from an Ayurvedic perspective, they have talked about in a poetic way. I hate to quote this Sanskrit here, but it is so profound and beautiful. It says, Nidrayatam sukham dukkham pushti karsha balabalam vrushata klibata jnanam ajnanam jivitam nacha. So your life, your knowledge, your cognition, your brain function, your sexual potency, your vitality, your happiness, unhappiness totally depends upon the quality of sleep that you get. And it may sound very poetic, but there's enough science to back this up now. Because now we are suddenly realizing that the brain cleanses itself when you're sleeping. So that was something which was not even understood at certain times. So it's not whenever you can sleep. It is exactly the time when the mother nature is asleep. So ideally, a sleep between 11 to 5 in the night is the key. And so I think the exposure to so much of artificial lights, blue light from television, computers, cell phones, e-readers, it is all delaying the release of melatonin, and that makes you actually prone for insomnia, restless sleep, and you end up in waking up tired. And one of the simplest things that I mentioned in my book was forest bathing, as we know, that they took a bunch of volunteers were taken for winter camping. And at the end of the trip, they were falling asleep 2 hours earlier and sleeping much more deeply and were waking up at dawn without an alarm clock.
Amazing.
So just in 2 weeks, you are able to reset circadian rhythms if you're away from all of these stimulation and just being outdoor, because that's when the birds, the trees, everything responds, and you're actually pulsating with the cosmic rhythms.
Beautiful. Yes, and you mentioned in the book that sleep is the miracle drug and that Ayurveda considers sleep a spiritual experience.
It is a spiritual experience because psycho-emotional cleansing happens in your sleep. Many of the stresses are dissolved. Those people who do not get sleep properly are actually getting a little bit more anxious, more depressed, more restless, and their brain function slowly starts fading away. So it is a spiritual experience because during that time you're actually witnessing. It's almost an experience where you are dying every night and you're waking up next day morning. So it's a dress rehearsal of dying every night, because you are taking yourself to that phase where you will be going anyway afterwards. and that ability for you to be distant yourself, quiet your body, and use your mind, subconscious mind, and even your trips to your connection with yourself or soul, all happens in the sleep itself. So I don't think we should ignore that very precious activity, but you should look forward to that.
And yes, like you said, treat it with respect, and that we need to allow our body time to digest not only our food, but our thoughts, everything that happened that day, and so that we can rejuvenate ourselves for the next day.
Well, and we often talk about this because, especially certain times. So when we talk about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a time to the kapha time that we say, time to slow down and unwind and prepare yourself for that bus which takes you there to help you sleep better. From 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that is an ultimate time for relaxation, where you should be asleep and you should be feeling a deeper quality of sleep and rejuvenation that happens between 10 to 2. During the daytime, it's a pitta time, but that pitta time in the night is the REM cycle, where it helps you actually carry out the millions of functions while giving body the maximum rest and the brain a maximum rest. So 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is the quiet time where slowly you unwind, the sleep becomes lighter, and as the vata sets in, that's the time to slowly prepare yourself to wake up. And the colonic motility, which is about 3 to 4 times higher around 6 o'clock in the morning, because the body is preparing you to have an easy and effective bowel movement at that time. And then around 6 to 10, it's something that you prepare yourself with vigorous physical activity, have a lighter breakfast. Then 10 to 2, as we know, is one of the most productive time of your day, where you can get a lot of work done. Around that time, the body is awake and things. 2 to 6, again, is the time where you slowly unwind and go into the second mode of thinking, which is much more creative time. And then when you look at all of these things, you are slowly unwinding and preparing and syncing your routine with the body is trying to do. When you are trying to do something what body is trying to do differently, that's when the disruption starts happening. So my clinical understanding with my patient is that the work boundaries have become invisible. You're working all the time, close to marriage. It is the busy schedules is making you actually unproductive, and everybody is talking about multitasking and getting many things done. But this latest science says that multitasking is waste of time. It actually shrinks your prefrontal cortex in the area of your brain, which actually makes you a little bit more dumb while you're doing too many things. And we all know from an Ayurvedic perspective that it's just a vata aggravation, which makes you feel that you're not able to get a handle on anything that you're doing.
When you have a schedule like this, I think there's a lot of freedom that comes with having a set schedule, that you know when you're going to do certain things. Therefore, you're not waking up every morning trying to figure out, well, what do I do now? Do I exercise? Do I eat? When I help clients put this schedule, this routine in place that's in sync with the circadian rhythms, that there's a wonderful freedom in it, because they're on autopilot then. Once they get these habits down, you have more space in your mind for other activities that you need to focus on, because these schedules, these healthy habits are in place.
No, and I think these habits cultivate a way of living, and that's what Ayurveda is. It's the science of living, ideal living. And we need to train ourselves and our clients to allow these activities to happen at the right time.
Yes.
So I think it's renewing ourselves by living in a cyclical manner. We accumulate toxins, imbalances from the life experiences that are not completely metabolized. So daily self-renewal, whether you talk about ideal daily routine, detoxification, purification, rejuvenation, it is not cleansing, but activities that are done at a proper time is what is doing the cleansing. It's what is purifying the system. It's exactly what is rejuvenating the system. So many people think that I should go somewhere and do a panchakarma and then 1 week, a year or something, and then I'm fine. This should happen on an everyday basis. So daily self-renewal is enhanced by a very strong physical and emotional digestive system, as I call it. And when you harmonize your internal rhythms with those of nature, improves your daily self-renewal, because nature also moves in the cycles of rest and activity, of silence and dynamism. And we need to respect that, and we need to allow ourselves to follow that rhythm.
Absolutely. And I also love that you say in the book that it's important to stop putting your health habits in isolation, that it's important to incorporate all these habits because they work together. So rather than, in your book you mentioned, rather than just losing weight so you go on a diet, instead think of putting all your health habits into one schedule and make them the center of your day, because they work together. Your sleep affects your weight and fitness level. Your diet affects your sleep and mental clarity. And your daily exercises improves your sleep, your energy levels, and your food choices. So can you speak on that, about how in all these habits together work in union?
Yeah, because it's the tripod of life that Ayurveda talks about: diet, sleep, and exercise. Because if you are, say, we start with sleep, okay? So if you are going to sleep at a proper time and you're waking up energized in the morning, you will have enough juice to do the physical activity and movement. And when you are able to do physical activity in the movement, you are hungry at the right time. And once you are hungry at the right time, you should be able to probably digest the food much more easily, and it makes the body pleasantly tired to help you fall asleep. So they all function in each other. So imagine that you are eating late and you are sleeping late, and then you are waking up with no energy to go and do a workout. And the body is totally plugged and inflamed, and you try to push yourself and you create more injuries to yourself. Yeah. So when the body is feeling light and bright, all of these three things automatically go hand in hand together. And one of the biggest things that we talk from an Ayurvedic perspective, your willingness to follow that rhythm, to eat healthily, to eat at the right time. And nowadays, the science is all on validating these principles. We talk about chrononutrition, we talk about chronobiology, you talk about chronopathology, you talk about nutrigenomics, where the quality of the nutrition that is affecting your genes. And I think Ayurveda is the first science that actually started talking about Vata, Pitta, Kapha pacifying diet, which is nothing but nutrigenomics, where you are nurturing your body as per your genes itself. So eating the right food in the right amount at the right time, I think that is the wisdom itself. And these habits in group, they support each other's activity. You can't just take one in isolation. You have to do all the three of them together. And they do work in tandem together. It's a synchronization. And so it synchronizes not only your habits mentally and emotionally, but it synchronizes the physiological functioning that the body is trying to do.
I think we have a tendency in the West to zoom in almost too much. And what I love about Ayurveda, why it's over 5,000 years old. It's amazing that this knowledge has stood the test of time, and now modern science is validating it. But also that while it's a deep, deep science, that it also takes a zoomed out approach, looking at everything in its entirety, and how all these systems and cycles, the lunar cycles, the body clock, the seasons, everything works together. And I think sometimes in the West we get too far into the nitty gritty of things, and we forget to look at the bigger picture.
And I think where we are heading is the challenge has created almost a condition which we are helplessly allowing our body to get into a different mode of functioning. When I was researching for Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life, I discovered that mobile phones came in 2002, 2004. Facebook was launched. 2005, YouTube was launched. Wow. 2006, Twitter got launched. The first smartphone from Apple came in 2007. So you're talking about 10, 15 years when the life has gotten super busy and crazy.
Yeah.
And we need to use this technology in a way where it doesn't dominate and dictate our life, but we are spending more time with the nature itself and allowing ourselves to synchronize our internal clock. And we can use the term of the dosha clock about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha itself, but from even the modern medical perspective, we are realizing that this internal clock is all about what they're talking about. What is the most important time for coordination? What is the best time for fastest reaction time in the body? It actually says something very, very interesting, where it says that when you're looking at your internal body clock itself, then the time for you to rest and unwind at that time, the peaking up of melatonin secretion happens around 9 o'clock in the night, and the cortisol peaks up early in the morning. So in the morning, first thing in the morning, if you are waking up tired and you're drinking unwanted amount of caffeine, the depression is very high. You are feeling dull. The maximum amount of heart attacks and hypertension cases happens around that time. Means all causes of mortality is between 7 to 9 in the morning, and that is creepy to think about it. So when you look at these latest research about what is the highest pain threshold time, when the hormone levels are peaking up, how the body systems is awake at certain time, when the lungs are more active, when the lipid regulations are happening, the fat synthesis or triglyceride regulation is happening. All of those things, if you look at from a science perspective and put them over a dosha clock, it actually fits perfectly. Yeah. So this wisdom of Ayurveda is revalidating all of those activities, and you can even go down to even subtle and subtler levels of activities where you're looking at insulin, airway patencies, and respiratory rate. You look at hemoglobin synthesis, platelet adhesiveness, arterial compliance, cortisol regulations, lymphocyte, TSH, prolactin, variety of different hormonal activities, along with gene-related metabolic functions. They all sync perfectly. And that was one of the reasons when I started talking about this. It really came to my realization that this Vedic seers, the way the ideal daily routine is laid out, it fits perfectly, and the way we are living our life with our schedule is creating that disruption. And if we can reset that and encourage people to do that, I think everything else will get better. And the challenge is that your desire to do exercise. Everybody wants to be physically active, but they just don't have enough energy to do that because they are not sleeping at the right time or they are not eating the right food. So they all work on each other's activities and function how the body is trying to do.
Yes. And I love in the book that you have these great quizzes for people to take. So I highly, highly recommend this book. It's a wealth of information, but you have these quizzes for people to take to try figure out, first of all, what do you do with your all day? And then you have the right sleep routine. You have the right diet for you, the right exercise, and you're giving guidance and structure of building this perfect day, which is fantastic.
And I think those chronotyping and I think timing how the body responds to time is another way of looking at your Vata, Pitta, and Kapha body type, and looking at the sensitivity how you respond to the time itself. Because many people think that I am a night owl or I am a lark and I have every right to stay up late in the night. It is not. Okay, you create a habit and then you start following that habit. It is an unnatural habit. And if that unnatural habit is coupled with other unhealthy habits, then very soon you will be having a disruption. So I think from dawn to dusk is an important thing. Taking those quizzes in the book to determine your chronotype, that will simply tell you how to adjust your schedule. There might be subtle variation, but the message is to prioritize your health and synchronize your internal clocks with your environment. And I think the book it has received some great reviews so far because it's giving some very practical tips for you to become mindfully aware of your biological functions, maybe optimize your workout, improve your sleep, and start living your life to its fullest potential.
It's beautiful. I do love the way it's laid out. And I love, like, you're telling people to stop counting calories. You know, by focusing on the calories, you're treating your body like a machine. Instead, focus on the timing of your meals, like we've been talking about, and the nutritional content of your food, which is excellent. And you share some great stories in the book as well, like giving real life scenarios where you've had some of your patients coming in and the differences that they've seen in their life. Can you share one of those stories with us?
Well, I think there are numerous stories that we have described in the book itself, but I especially comes to my mind where this guy who was busy working general contractor and coming back home, tucking their kids to bed, and then that was his me time. And his me time, he was starting his television and late night shows and everything. And when his wife was asleep, when his kids were asleep, that was the time when he could get all his snacks out and sit and open different foods and watch his entertainment, because he was running around all day long. And that was around past midnight that he used to munch and watch something and by himself, and he used to wear these silent headphones and watch these things late in the night. So he used to go to bed around 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the night. And many times his wife was taking his kids to school, elementary school in the morning, and he had no juice left to get out at that time. So he was barely waking up in the morning, and then walking out the door with his cup of coffee. And it was so difficult to get him started and show him at work around 7:30 when many of his contractor friends were at the work site. And he used to go there completely feeling zombie. And I think that was the time when he started realizing he was slowly getting more tired, more lazy. He was gaining weight. He had no sexual function left. He was eating these big outdoor meals in the middle of the day, which was creating acid indigestion recurrently. He was doing a lot of physical activity. The whole body was completely inflamed, and he was sleeping less than 5 or 6 hours each night. And when it kind of builds up, the whole body was riddled with pain and inflammation. So first thing that we took away from him was this late night television and munching in the night. So we told him to come back and eat with his kids itself around 6:30 in the evening, and not really do anything else. We actually gave him some books to read and things, and he was not a good reader. So within 15 minutes, he started snoring, and he caught up about 3 extra hours of sleep every night because he was dead tired being a contractor.
Yes.
And he was able to wake up, and within a week, his kids were surprised that Dad is awake around 6 o'clock in the morning to take them to school. And he used to drop them off and go to school. He lost a bunch of weight within few months. He started looking really good because since he was awake so early in the morning, around 6 o'clock, he had physical activity, movement, was able to eat the right breakfast at the right time, was able to have a decent lunch and come back home for a lighter dinner. And just one little thing shifted everything for him.
Exactly, yeah. And not only in his health and well-being, but in his relationships with his children and his partner.
Wife.
Yeah.
It actually, he said that, and I mentioned that in the book, that it saved his marriage because his wife was getting more and more unhappy with him because he was not sexually alive and functional.
Yeah.
Secondly, he was not being present as a father of these young kids. And thirdly, that he was totally disconnected from realization how his body was looking and feeling.
Wow, isn't that amazing from one change? So that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that really, sharing stories like this, and you have several in your book, really reinforces the effect that these changes can have on every level of your life. And I love is also in the book, you advise your clients to check in with their body throughout the day. And I also recommend this to my clients to have awareness. And awareness, I think, is the catalyst to change. It's about studying your body and your mind and being curious. Can you share with us what you recommend here and what you advise your clients?
Yeah, being mindful is a very important thing because from an emotional level, you need to tap into your body how it is feeling, whether it is feeling lazy, whether it's feeling tired, whether it's feeling sleepy, sluggish, hungry. So being mindful and be connected with your body. And I gave some simple tips. And one of the things was just feeling your own pulse. So for a few
Yes, I like
seconds,
that.
putting your three fingers on the pulse actually connects you with what is going on in the body itself. It just slows down the pace of time, no matter where you are going and what is happening in your life. For a few seconds, you're just connected with how your body is. It creates this interoceptive awareness that allows the body and the heart and everything to get into rhythm because of that itself. Another mindful activity that you should do every day is scraping your tongue or looking at your tongue, even looking at your poop every morning itself, because those are all activities that are going to help you being connecting with yourself. Just slowing down the pace of life by actively breathing some three nice deep breaths, and you can do that several times a day, no matter where you are. Three simple deep breaths allow you to be present and centered no matter what is going on in your life at that time. So I think being mindfully aware and connecting with your body reestablishes this decision making, that you are not walking around like a zombie, but slow down the pace and get connected with yourself. And that input output of your physiological functioning is the key, is the switch, as I call it. And that switch regulates the internal rhythm with what is going on with your life outside.
That's just beautiful. And I've actually started doing the pulse. It's a very visceral way to feel what's going on with your body. So I started when I'm meditating now to just listen to my pulse, and it really helps keep my mind focused. I think it's great.
And what we notice is that just your attention, feeling your own pulse, actually slows it down. So there's a homeostatic balance for your fingers on the pulse, slows down the pulsation.
Okay.
And that is very, very powerful. And that's exactly what is homeostatic mechanisms of the body are. And I think that's the first step towards self-ritual and self-care, is to be mindfully aware of how you're feeling and what are the things that you should be doing at a given moment. So the book itself is I think, a simple validation of these ancient Ayurvedic principles. And it's a great template to really understand that you're the most important person in your life. Taking good care of your own physical, mental, emotional health and well-being. Everything else syncs to that.
Yes.
What you manifest, what you create. And I used a tagline in my book on hot belly diet, where you kindle your Agni and you kindle the fire in your life. So you become passionate about who you are, what you do, how you think, how you take care of yourself, and everything else slowly starts coming to you. So I think that's the important connection here.
Wise words, absolutely. And just like we started at the start of this chat, started talking about cycles, and you are the hub of your world and everything cycles around you. So if you start taking care of yourself, like you said, it ripples out. If you're taking care of yourself, if you're in balance, if you're living a sattvic life, then this ripples out into the world around you. And then you're drawing these wonderful sattvic things into your life and affecting the people around you as well.
Perfect. That's great.
Dr. Suhas, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'd like for you to tell us where listeners can find your book, Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life, and find more information about you and your practice.
Well, they can look up on drsuhas.com, which is drsuhas.com, which lists all my books and information. They can also get all the books on Amazon, Kindle, digital books, Audible books. They're all available on Amazon. Barnes and Noble, leading bookstores, IndieBound, everywhere in the country. We have Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. It's getting translated in 13 different languages as we speak.
Fantastic.
And my clinic is in Santa Cruz, which is in Northern California, near San Francisco. And they can look up my clinical services at ayurvedichealing.net, ayurvedichealing.net. And they can contact us for our clinical services and for my books, presentations, talks, and courses on drsuhas.com.
Wonderful. And I'll put both those links in the show notes. So if you want to just check out the show notes, you'll get Dr. Suhas's links and we'll get you right over there. Dr. Suhas, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to chat with us. And thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for all the wonderful work you're doing in this world and this amazing book, which I think is going to help a lot of people change their lives.
Thank you. All the best to you, Colette.
Thank you, Dr. Suhas. Take good care of yourself. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Suhas. It was so interesting, and I highly recommend the book, Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. Now, if you feel that you want more support about bringing in these daily self-care practices into your life and how to structure your day, well, I offer an online self-guided daily habits for a holistic health course that's available to you to start at any time. It's a short video recording daily, and there's lots of support and structure there to help you implement these practices. So by the end of the month-long course, you have a foundation of holistic healthcare practices to help keep your body and mind in balance, preventing illness, keeping your nervous system calm, and aiding digestion. So you can just check out the show notes for the link or head over to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and you'll find it under the services tab. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with the community here, you can find our podcast group on Facebook. It's called Elements of Ayurveda Podcast Group, and we'd love to have you join us there. Take good care of yourself, and until next time, be well.